Hello, Friendship Family. I'm Mother Essie Jackson, and I am bringing you today's daily devotional, day 18 in our 31 days of prayer. Our scripture today comes from Luke 13, verses 10 through 17, about Jesus healing a woman who had been crippled for 18 years. Luke tells us how Jesus healed a crippled woman on the Sabbath day. This passage highlights Jesus' compassion and desire to bring healing and restoration to those who are suffering. Note at this time, the religious leaders were closely watching Jesus in hopes of trapping him in breaking of some of the laws concerning the Sabbath. But Jesus was prepared for such a day, and he would use it for the purpose of his gospel, and he continued to perform many of his miracles on the Sabbath. They failed to see him as the one greater than the Sabbath, and they thought more of that day than the designer of the day. The woman was a believer in Jehovah, yet she was afflicted for a long time. However, her painful infirmity did not keep her from attending the synagogue. Walking must have been difficult for her, but she still attended regularly. Just think what she would have missed if she had not attended God's house on that Sabbath day when Jesus visited it. This is an encouragement to all of us who, in spite of our bodily ailments, household chores, and cares, find their way to the sanctuary where the Lord is ever present. In verse 16, Jesus said that she had been bound by Satan, that her disorder had been inflicted on her by Satan, just as he had inflicted Job with sores and boils. This caused her mental despair. But she was about to experience the power of one who had come to destroy the work of the devil and able to relieve minds and bodies of all afflictions. Jesus used various methods of healing the sick. He did not heal in the same way to all who came to him. He followed no rules in performing his miracles. This time, he saw, he called, he laid his hands on her. Nobody and nothing escapes the eyes of Jesus. There in the synagogue, his eyes singled out the crippled woman as a special object of his mercy. Then with compassion, he called the woman to his side and said to her, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." The woman did not approach Jesus for relief. Jesus took the initiative. His eyes saw, his voice called her, and now his hands touched her, and immediately she was healed. His eyes, his lips, and his hands, and immediately she was made straight. What he did physically for this woman, he is able to spiritually do in our lives. In verse 13, the woman herself glorified God. The unasked for miracle was followed by immediate gratitude. Although she was bodily deformed, she still worshiped and praised God at the synagogue. Now with her healing, she could serve the Lord as she had not been able to through her long, hard, and weary 18 years of being bent over and could not straighten up at all. In verse 17, the people rejoiced. I imagine all her friends, fellow worshipers in the house of God who knew her, were rejoicing for all the wonderful things that Jesus was doing. This must have made Jesus' heart so glad, as often we don't hear or see gratitude from those he blessed. The miracle had an opposite effect on the religious leaders, who should have been the first to lead the praises of the congregation for the healing of the woman. But no, while the crowd acclaimed Jesus, the religious leaders were indignant and accused him of healing on the Sabbath, which they considered to be a violation of the law. Jesus responded by pointing out in verse 15 their hypocrisy, saying that they worked on the Sabbath day as each of them would untie their ox or donkey on the Sabbath and lead them out to water. So was it not right to release this woman, a daughter of Abraham, who had been held in bondage by Satan for 18 years? So obvious was Jesus' argument that the religious leaders were put to shame and silence. What a comfort we can get from this miracle. In all our troubles, Jesus is at hand, and whether our concerns are spiritual or bodily, the words of his mouth and the touch of his hands are ours. If we are bowed down greatly, the Son of God with power is near to heal that which is sick and rise up them that are bowed down. Well, that's my devotional for today. Thank you for listening, and may God's blessing be on you throughout this day. Bye.